Now officially, it is 12:15, and Rotarians and guests, this is the Rotary Club of Toronto. I am Prince Kumar, your president, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Rotary meeting for today. After the recognition of the traditional lands and the invocation, please stand if you wish for the national anthem, a Rotary toast, and remain standing for an in memoriam for our member, Joel Talman. And please have a glass ready for the toast as well. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional lands of many Indigenous peoples who have walked and cared for this land for 15,000 years. They include the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, the Treaty Peoples of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Let this be a time for heroes. Let this be a time when ordinary people do extraordinary things. As Rotarians, as guests, as members of our local and global communities, let us see inequities, let us feel the need, the pain, and the suffering of our fellow human beings. Let us not stand aside nor walk away. Let us be heroes, for together we can do extraordinary things. Thank you. And now for our national anthem. If you would like, please, and that includes the folks virtually, stand for O Canada, a toast, and remain standing for an in memoriam for John Talman. John Talman. We're very sorry to report the passing of our longtime member, John Talman, in his 83rd year. Born in Toronto, he grew up in Parkdale and became interested in stamp collecting at a young age. After working for CN Rail in Falconbridge for a number of years, he decided to see if he could make a living with his hobby and opened an office downtown. Successful from the beginning, he became well known in his field and hosted large auctions for collectors on a regular monthly basis. John joined our club in October 1978 with the classification of professional philatelist. He was active on the program and fundraising committees. He was very interested in the history of our city and wrote numerous articles for The Voice on that subject, and also columns on Member News. Our club honored John with a Club Builder Award in 2001. A private family service has been held. Condolences from the club have been sent to his family, Jean, his wife of 51 years, and his daughter, Andrea, who join us virtually today. Please observe a moment of silence as we set up and play Abide With Me. Please be seated. Rotarians and guests, it is now my pleasure to introduce our head table. I'm pleased to have the following people with me today. Dr. Brigitte Bogar, Rotarian since 2014. Classification, music theater arts, singer, and artistic director, our musical talent for today. Now, you know, for years, Brigitte has been filling all our hearts with warmth with the beautiful music renditions that she does, whether it's here or the work that they do in Skugog. Thank you, Brigitte. Glenn Davis, Rotarian since 1990. 31 years. Classification, estate insurance planning. Principal of Glenn M. Davis, another musical talent for today who did a beautiful Abide With Me today. Glenn has been on our board. He's been instrumental on our board and on various different committees throughout the years. And he's been instrumental in crafting various policies as well for our club. Thank you, Glenn. Laurie Brazier, Rotarian since 2006. Classification, strategic sourcing. Senior Manager for Global Procurement Services, Scotiabank. And of course, our How We Hobby speaker. If you know Laurie, Laurie is a go-getter when it comes to community service. And for years, she's been out there with our club and lots of different community events, leading and managing them. Thank you, Laurie. Chris Curry, Volunteer Recruitment and Tutoring Coordinator, Youth Assisting Youth, our impact reporting speaker for today. Jeffrey Johnson, the Rotarian since 1993, classification, specialty catering, President, Enville Event Design and Catering, Club past president and co-chair of our Marketing and Communications Committee. He's also our host to our guest speaker and entertainer, who is Dan Frankian, our guest speaker, who will be introduced shortly. Rotarians and guests, our head table. Today, we have Rotarians visiting from the Rotary Club of Victoria Harborside, from one of our actually past club members, Lorna Johnson, and their president, David Spavin, their board director, Kevin Hilgers, and their club secretary, Steve Holland, who are also learning on how to do hybrid meetings. So welcome from all the way from BC. We also have special guests with us today. We have John Talman's family, Jean and Andrea, joining us. We're honored to have you today with us. To our visiting Rotarians, thank you for choosing our club for your makeup. We hope that you will enjoy this meeting. To all of our guests, welcome to our virtual meeting today. Please feel free to sign up on our website and contact the office and find out how you may be able to make a difference in joining us. Rotarians, please welcome our visitors in the tradition of our great club. Announcements. Now, you've heard this a few times, and I'm sure you've probably memorized it by now. Before our visitors and guests, you should be aware that at these virtual Rotary meetings, that if your video camera is on, you may show up in our recordings on our social media. We ask that when you have your camera on, that you present a professional image. Have your lunch earlier, please, and be aware of what is going on in the background. If you do not want to appear on camera, please turn off your video. We will not be able to edit you out later. I have a special message that everyone should be paying attention to from our Rotary office. Carol is finally taking some vacation, well deserved. So she is going to be off for the next few weeks, leaving tomorrow and returning Monday, September 20th. For Rotary office support, please contact Belly. Thank you, Belly, for filling in. Email for Belly is accounts@rotarytoronto.com. Please, please, please pre-register for your September 10th and September 17th meetings. If you haven't done that for hybrid meetings, if you want to show up here in person, please do so. Remember, we still have very limited capacity as we're going really, really slow. But if you do want to be among the few and fill up that capacity, please let Carol know prior to her going for vacation. I know she tells me that she'll still have her email on, but I really am hoping that she's not checking Rotary emails when she's finally getting a chance to go on vacation. So if you want to be here for September 10th and 17th, please email her today. Next up is our impact reporting segment. Now for impact reporting, every week we go out there and introduce various different organizations and charities that our club and or our foundation have supported over the last few months. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Chris Curry, who is from Youth Assisting Youth. Chris, over to you.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see you and to speak today on behalf of Youth Assisting Youth for the impact reporting. So I do have a few slides that I would be happy to share. So today, I'll be presenting you a little bit about our organization, Youth Assisting Youth, as well as the impact of the Rotary funds on our program, specifically the virtual tutoring program. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Youth Assisting Youth is a nonprofit organization that works within the City of Toronto and York region. And what we do is we create life-changing mentoring experiences by pairing youth mentors that volunteer to connect with younger youth that live in vulnerable situations and newcomer families. And that they engage in mentoring activities like resilience building and such. So our virtual tutoring program specifically is to assist and support YAY families and youth by creating creating meaningful connections and supporting them with their academics. We started this program at the beginning of the pandemic, and we have our one-to-one tutoring where they can work on homework and specific skills, as well as group programming to connect them with other youth and provide opportunities to socialize. And the age of the participants are 6 to 15 for the kids receiving tutoring, and then older to 29 for our volunteers. Now, to talk about what you are all doing to support our program, I can speak upon the benefits, successes, and the impact, including reading skills, English development, social skills, leadership abilities, as well as stronger pathways for one-to-one matches. But one specific feedback that I want to share is from one parent who has 2 children in the program who got great support throughout the year. And now let's look at the numbers here from October to June. So we had 110 volunteers, 135 students receiving support, 75 which were newcomers, 2,316 session interactions, which is every time a student receives support, 671 tutoring time slots, and 81 group tutoring sessions. And that's just from October to June. And if we go to the next slide, this is just from the summer tutoring, which specifically was able to run from the Rotary funding that we received. So we had 43 volunteers, 68 students, and over 298 session interactions. So overall, I want to thank you all so much for your support, as it goes a long way to supporting these youth in their academics and social connections. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Now, I really have to commend Chris. He joined Youth Assisting Youth in September of 2020 and manages all their operations of the virtual tutoring program, the program that our Youth and Children's Service Committee supported just a few months ago. Chris is their volunteer recruitment and tutoring coordinator at Youth Assisting Youth. So who better to hear from than Chris about the impact that this program is having. Thank you again, Chris.
Thank you.
Now, it is time for our guest speaker. And I'd like to remind you that if you have questions for our guest speaker, for those that are virtual, you can simply email them to question@rotarytoronto.com. Once again, question@rotarytoronto.com. Those that are here in person, simply raise your hand and we'll get you to ask your question. All right. So for the introduction of our guest speaker, I would like to pass things over to our host, past president, Jeffrey Johnson. Over to you, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What are all these buttons here, Prince? First of all, I'd like to assure you I am live here at the National Club. I'm not virtual and I'm not a hologram. When we look around at our careers, mostly we see people in situations that have predictable paths. Dan Frankian is not one of those. His life is an adventure, reliant on his wit, his intuition, and training. Of Armenian descent, active in covert operations, military operations in the Middle East, a trained jeweler who developed a love of birds of prey. Dan is now the nation's leading expert on falconry and wildlife control. From clearing airports from possible bird strikes to removing hawks' nests recently from a 200-foot hospital chimney after the birds had attacked workers. I have a bald-headed canary, but I don't think that counts. Dan's birds have appeared in movies like Harry Potter. He is known internationally and has had projects in the Galapagos, Thailand, and many other international locations. A Master Falconer, environmentalist, adventurer, and a true bon vivant. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our guest. A good friend of Dan has something to add. Now, Rohit is somewhere virtual. Do I press a button?
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and honored guests. My name is Rohit Tamane, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Dan Frankian. Dan is a friend of mine from the National Club. I've known him for over 5 years now, and what fascinated me was his story. Of many of the exploits, here's a couple of highlights. He's the only Canadian in military history to pass the sniper course perfectly, which is no small feat. He has introduced German Shepherds as guard dogs to the Saudi royal family when little to no one else could be trusted. He has successfully climbed hundreds of feet up into the air and captured birds of prey. So the last one I heard about was a bald eagle, and a bald eagle is over 5 feet tall. It's a pretty big bird. So with no further ado, the man with the hands, Dan Frankian.
Hello everyone, my name is Dan Frankian. Our website is www.hawkeye.ca. Here to kind of give you a little bit about birds of prey, entertain you hopefully, and can be fairly simply, I'm going to show you this is rock. And rock is really interesting. It's one of the few albino owls. It's quite widely developed, but please stop it. I want to show you how close I can get. So I just want to show you how big we are. My finger right here. And that's the button. I'm going to lift that. Push. I want you to see the colors underneath. This is what they sleep on. And you're seeing the snow. It's not a snowy owl. Corned up with this. It must be highly colored. Right. This is that focus. Yep. In the water. Head. Fall. See that? So it's just going from head to toe. These are not ears. These are just outs. You're actually in the direction of this. Yes, it's this. This is one of the birds of prey, the type of bird of prey that usually Harry Potter at the beginning of the breed. He sent a couple of owls to James Bond Studios in London, England. And the falconer over there was planning on using the working. But mostly two birds of prey that we sent over. And you're also responsible for all the birds of prey during the Harry Potter exhibition. Drama science. So the gist of it, a little bit underneath the spotlight canvas is why you get that sort of and the really cool thing is that they're so light here, but if you look at their levels, it's entirely it's almost cute. So you get in there and get white. So the first thing I'm going to show you is those eyes are about the same size as ours. There's a really cool thing is that so you can look at the picture rather than stop doing it. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry to speak up just a tad.
Yes.
Can I speak up just a bit? That's not a problem with the military, man. We can speak up all you want. The problem is we usually laugh. So anyway, give you a little bit of a hint here. Ears are literally right behind the discs. We call the ocular discs right here. And they're right back here. That's one. The other one is right here. And the really cool part is that you can hear in a different kind of system. So if I can hear from this ear at 50%, and I can hear from this ear at 50%, the object is directly in front of me. It's called triangulation. The really cool part with them is that the ears are actually just a little bit offset, which is really cool. The really neat part of that is that they can literally figure out where the mouse is the minute it gets. So in literally almost perfect darkness, you won't hear them coming, you won't see them coming, the mouse will be gone. I find that really neat because, especially with this guy, I go hunting and chasing crows in the middle of airports and areas that I have to do bird control. So you can imagine Larry, Curly, and Mo sitting on a branch tree. Next thing you know, Curly's gone. And Mo looks over and says, "What happened to Curly?" Well, they're that loud, they're that quiet. Literally, this guy flies by, takes one of the crows away, and that's it, it's gone. And the next day, you keep doing that over and over and over again, so the crow finally decides, well, that may not be such a good place to stay. They kind of get that hint very quickly. During the day, they're actually very vulnerable because they're sleeping. At night, when they're running around and do all their vicious stuff, they're incredibly smart. They're incredibly smart. Until they do that. But they're incredibly, if you can imagine you sleep on a bed of feathers, this is exactly it. It is absolutely beautiful. It's so incredibly soft. Just meters and pounds of it. Absolutely enormous. do this ever so gently because those are just deadly black birds, right? I'm going to gently open the ring now. It can be nice. Is that right? Come on, you have to be. It's absolutely huge. But this, just to give you an idea of strength on the claws, okay? This is a 2-layer leather glove, and there's Kevlar in between. It has been unusual for the country. Okay, so again, Kevlar is what we use for bullets and knives and that kind of thing. She'll actually find the spot in the weave and make it clear. Conversation in person. So they're very calm because I've trained them to be calm. They're normally bouncing around like crazy. The Harris hawk I have over there is actually just going to get across water. The entire falconry world uses furry foxes. So this is the Harris hawk. This is the Harris hawk, and now this is what I mean by feet, but it's come out of nowhere. So you can tell where is he? Prince. You want to put this one in there? Sure. Wow. All right, let's grab that glove right over there. Monitor.
You need to drink first.
You need to drink first. But I'll go all first. Keep lift your something. Straight line. Go ahead. All over my way. All right, I'm just right here. Right. Hold on. All right, so now we get to find out what the weight of this one is. Just hang on. As you can tell, Harris hawks are definitely a lot more. They love the chase and these. All right. As you can tell, Harris hawks are great. It's one of the few gregarious hawks in the world. They're really fun to be around. She is one of the few Harris hawks that we got from California. She ended up in a box. All of our birds of prey are homebred, bred by us. She's the only one that isn't. She ended up in a box, if I remember correctly, that came in a truck. We opened up the truck and just pooped. I have cleaned that up. Don't kill me. So anyway, long story short, she came in a truck. We're pretty sure when we opened up the truck, the bird of prey fly that, and I think it was at one of the manufacturing plants in Toronto. I get this call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Dad, help! Like, what's the problem? We found something that came out of, the bananas. And I said, what, a scorpion? No. A hawk. Oh, okay. So down I go, and this thing goes, inside the warehouse. So I'm trying to capture this thing at 3 o'clock in the morning while everybody's putting food or something together in the middle of the warehouse, which was really fun. But believe it or not, somehow or another, she got that toe clip. So that's why she's missing that toe. And somehow or another, I think during transport from California all the way here, that's how we do it. So we had to take her to the doctor to fix it. That's why she doesn't have the little middle. She can't do any root adjustment. Let's just say that. Does that impact her? No, believe it or not, She is one of the best seagull trailers I've got. She loves to eat seals. Yeah. And the bird that says mine, it's not anybody else, but mine, and I eat 95, it's not thousands. But yeah. So she's really, truly fantastic. Oh, because we're she is a very nice big. She is one of the few birds of prey that actually has covers over her eyes because she is basically from Sonora, Sedona, Texas, lives in Southern California. Really cool that way. Her brother, or what she thinks is the brother of this one, basically jumps on top of her to find the rabbit. Okay, and the next male jumps on top of them, so you sometimes have four of them stacked on top of each other, looking at trying to find the rabbit in the field. So there'll be like guys that are more branches, not big teams that want to attack and communicate between each other on the rabbit go this way, you go that way, I go this way, you crash that one, and make sure you crash that way. They literally communicate, which I find absolutely amazing. They seem to think about it all the time. The females tend to go after the rabbits, the males go after the birds.
I have a question. Both birds that you're talking about are females. Are the female birds easier to train than the males? I
As long as there's no, you know what, I'll tell you this. Females are smarter, but use brute force. Males are like cheddar. They're like,
know. The reason I asked is because both birds here.
it's the neat thing about, you gotta remember, birds of prey, females are 30% larger. Almost the entire animal kingdom, it's the other way around. Males are larger, bigger, shower off, blah, 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 and they have all the bright colors. The females are the ones who sit on the nest and defend them. They need to be bigger, better, and more powerful. So if female bald eagle sits on the nest, she's making sure that an owl doesn't come by and pick up her chicks while she's sleeping, right? So defense needs to be bigger than attack, smaller, faster, better. So males are quicker through the trees and better at getting smaller stuff. The females are better at getting larger stuff, but they're bigger than we're defending. Nature's figured out a very nice balance. You like that one? So males and females are actually, believe it or not, people, even though that's not true anywhere. We try. Yeah.
Do we have to give anti-rabies shots?
No rabies. Rabies is not in the world, but believe it or not, SARS, MERS, blah, 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 very well. Mosquitoes are a massive problem. But now is my biggest problem. Some of the owl sanctuaries in Canada have lost as many as 30 to 40% of them. It's really. What else can I tell you about it? She is, okay, here's another one. What do you think she weighs?
1 pound.
You're getting better. You're getting better. 1,200 grams.
No.
2 pounds. Okay? You can imagine what the owls weigh, so much she weighs. Notice how much stockier the owl is, right? Okay? The beak is unbelievable, but nothing like the owls. Her feet are ridiculously fast. Her wings are phenomenal. Everything about her is speed. Everything about the owl is stealth, then right? Think of her as an attack helicopter. Falcons are your fast-flying jets. Your eagles are your big bombers that come down really hard and that's what they do. Right?
How long do
She's 11 years old. I've had One, as long as I've been a falconer, 32 years old, I just started last. Bald eagles, 45, 50, golden, 60. I have birds of prey, I'll be willing to somebody to come, already great man. Well,
I've heard at one point when they time that you're about to die, they go from your home, that you're.
these guys, if they're about to die, they will find themselves a quiet place and
Oh, wow.
because the minute something figures out that they're sick, old, and tired, something's going to eat. Right, so go ahead.
I have a land up upstairs, I think, well, the side of the road, I found a huge quantity of white feathers on the ground. Those birds, and I asked local people if they could the snow down. But I can imagine.
Unless they got hit by a truck, you would have seen the body. But even birds are being hit by a truck. I don't see feathers everywhere. If you see feathers everywhere, it's something ate something and left all the feathers everywhere. I would tell you, in Bancroft, we might have some snow-goose. There might be some smokies. Now, smokies are big enough, you might have seen the carcass unless it was a coyote, would have been right up. If it was near a pond, you may have had something like a coyote, possibly a wolf, eat a swamp. Okay? So you gotta think of what are white feathers, right? Depending on if they look like cute little feathers like this, that's a different story. You get massively long feathers, and you know, alright? Some goose have, there's only 3 to choose from. Unless it's a big pile of one giant pigeon or something, but pigeons are big. Yes.
Will a feral cat be considered prey or?
Feral cats are deadly to all birds. Not because they're going to catch them and kill them, especially if they're prey, but a bite or a scratch is an infection waiting to happen. Anything to do with an infection. The cats bite, cats scratch, and that's the biggest problem for a bird. All right? But as good as birds of prey are, I have to be very careful of, I live in Acton, that's where our sanctuary is. You can come out to Acton and visit us, but the first thing I have to be careful is at night that I have a cat walking on top of the aviary. For example, my bald eagle's got a spot the size of this room, right? This is like 45 inches, right? But if a cat starts walking across the top of this cage, well, that cat's pretty well dead. My problem is that if it bites and defends itself, scratches the bald eagle, then I have a massive infection to deal with. Going to university close and spending $4,000 or $5,000, making sure the place is last. Right? So those, I like cats, but I have a bird sanctuary. Yeah.
What do you feed these guys? What do you feed these guys?
What do I feed them? I feed them pigeon. Only the chef. That's when I can get my hands on pigeons. But the most important thing for me is I go to the quail farmer that provides quail to the restaurant industry. I get 100% excellent quality, restaurant quality that you and I could eat food. And it costs me about $2 a quail because I want my birds to be at 100%. All right? I want them quail, pheasant, duck, whatever, but it has to be excellent sorting. These are all live. In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. In winter, to get live food is very difficult. All right? We've got 10-foot freezers, so what about rats? We don't get paid for rats, therefore I don't feed them. Right? So we get paid for birds. Make sure we're the eat. Yeah.
How many are you feeding? How many do you keep?
It takes Clarissa and Liz and Rebecca 4.5 hours to feed all.
What was that number?
52. Yeah, we have 52 birds of prey, more or less in Ontario. We have a whole bunch of birds sprayed in Germany, Thailand, and Carol, sorry, just going to quickly ask you if there's any questions on the
Yeah, I have a question. Rich, was your arm starting to ache?
Actually, not that heavy as I mentioned, but it's just awkward to keep it there for a while, but not in terms of weight.
Is that the same tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll find out tonight. Maybe I'll need to switch. Okay, any other questions? One question I did have, Dan, is, as I was mentioning earlier, I've got 3 hawks, red-tailed hawks in my backyard. Are they, I mean, they seem to be territorial because they were born there 2 years ago, keep coming back, keep helping me with all the stuff around. Yes. So they're great pest control, but yes. I suppose they are territorial. Very, very. One of the reasons in the introduction, somebody told you that I was up on a 200-foot chimney. Actually, it was up 104-meter chimney. On top of the chimney ran the old North York General Hospital, which is there's in Finch area. I think it's called Lansing now or something. Yeah. Okay. They have a chimney, and on that chimney there are 2 red-tailed hawks who decided that they were going to make their nest on top of this. So of course, the chimney guy and the maintenance guy decided to go up on top of the chimney because they're going to clean the chimney, maybe point everything to halfway up. Red-tailed hawk comes down, whacks one of them in the head, knocks their helmet off, comes by and knocks it again, and gives them 20 stitches. So it's like, when there's a nest on the roof, tell nuts with it. You can imagine what it's like with an osprey. You can imagine what it's like with a bald eagle. And, don't think about that all the time. Hey, Dan, what? There's a bald eagle on top of the tower. We need to get 911 working. Okay. So Dan, the crazy went all the way up the tower, picks up the nest, picks up the babies, brings everything back down to the ground. Feed the babies while the guys won't fix everything. Defends the guys while because mom and dad are up there. You ever been into the piano before? Think about that. 110, 120 meters, Dan is there defending the guys below. So,
What do you do? What do you do?
I've got everything from pyrotechnics to very, very secrets of the trade, my son. All right? To deal with birds of prey that are coming back in 200 miles.
And you throw them food back on.
Are you kidding? Do you think Mama Bear cares about a pot of honey when you're bothering the baby? No, she don't. What you waiting? Attitude. This is the don't mess with me. My shoulder seems to be bringing them back in, but if I start having yeah.
Have you had to go to the hospital many times yourself?
Me?
Yeah.
I've had to, and I'm married to a nurse first, okay? So you have to understand this, still.
Yeah.
I'm still married to a nurse, all right? But the first thing you have to know is, but 4 years ago, I went up, and as I was working, the higher I go, realized that I ended up in fog. And didn't realize I literally went right past the nest. And didn't even realize it was in the tree next to the tower that I was working. So as I went up, she came out, she came out from about my 4 o'clock position, and came right up. Right through my mouth, right through my goggles, right through my face shield, and gave me a stretch, like right across. I had to go see a cornea specialist. But she went, like, I could have been one. It was like tens of millimeters. So, they're not to be messed with. You don't mess with the bird. especially one that's dependent. And so I do everything possible to not bother them in every way, shape, or possible that I need to do. But I want to make sure that, you know, we have very specific comments from the MNR and Canadian Wildlife Service that allows us to do what we're doing so that you can use Bell Canada, you know, everybody else, Rogers, all of the cellular people, including the power OPG, all of the hydro. So anything that has to do with that. In most cases, we wait for the nest to go empty. And then we will either move the nest, find a spot as close as possible to the nest that's not going to bother the bird prey. 99% of our cases, like after September, we can do all of our work. But, you know, if something happens and we got to deal with it, we got 911 issue, or a tower goes down in the middle of the city and 911's not working, well, then we do everything possible to make sure this thing's okay. And you guys can use your phone. There have been several times I've had to pick up the nest, the eggs, make sure the babies are fine, all of that, and then bring everything right back up. And I've had to capture the mother, the father, put everything back up with while the guys are up there. They're literally, the minute I've got all the birds of prey fixed up, they will attack the tower with 5 or 6 people and get it done as fast as possible. So we can go back up there and put everything back. That happens quite a bit. So we get a lot of our customers are big oil companies, telecommunication companies, but we have governments worldwide. ATM, we've got a problem with, you know, this many seagulls or this many hormones, or could you please come sure that we've got, you know, birds that are coming and eating our cute little tortugas when we're in the cabals.
Well, thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
And thank you for this wonderful experience of knowledge and the up close immersive experience. Folks,
Pictures, just let me know. I'll be here after you shoot down.
absolutely. For the folks that are on hybrid, you're welcome to do that. Thank you, Dan, for offering that graciously. A donation has been made in your honor, Dan, to Five House. Five House is the largest provider of supportive housing and support services for people living with HIV/AIDS in the Greater Toronto Area. This past year, Five House served more than 750 individuals and families. Additionally, 300 individuals were housed. This donation helps provide hope, help, and a home to the most vulnerable and marginalized members of our community. Thank you again.
Very good.
For the folks joining us virtually, we know we lost one of our up-close cameras with Dan just for a few minutes. So, and I have to thank our tech team who got right onto it and tried to fix that. So thank you for doing that, Andrew and Maureen. On Friday, September 3rd, we will not be having a Rotary meeting. However, on September 1st, Wednesday evening at 5:30, our Community Outreach Committee is doing a phenomenal President's Cocktails. So please join us then. On Friday, September 10th and 17th, we will be back at the National Club, and a reminder again to please email Carol if you're coming. I mean, she tells me she will respond while she's on vacation, but hopefully we can get that sorted today. Please watch for the emails to registers, and as usual, they will have all our COVID protocols. On September 10th, our guest speaker will be City of Toronto archivist Carol Radford, and on September 17th, it will be a Scholarship Awards Committee. Both of them stunning committee speakers to watch. And finally, I would just like to say that in nature and having blessed to see some of the hawks in my backyard just over the last couple of years, and just watching them prey on I've seen them prey on seagulls as well as squirrels. It was really interesting to watch the three of them when they were growing up to try to hunt together. And some of those weren't that successful. But what was really interesting is how much we can learn from nature in the serenity and in how nature operates, and how the wonderful balance that nature truly has within it. So thank you, Dan, again for sharing such a wonderful moment with us today. And for everyone here and joining us virtually, whether that's in BC or elsewhere, continue to be safe. Have a wonderful weekend. This meeting is adjourned.